Has anxiety really grabbed a hold of you this week? Have you been anxious of the burdens of life really weighing on you? Well, I got good news for you today. Really good news. You know, it says in the book of Philippians to be anxious for nothing. Be anxious for nothing. Now, if God says to be anxious for nothing, then that means, first of all, that means anxieties will come. So you're not in sin. You're not in, don't feel condemned. Don't feel like you're a bad person because you've had some anxiety. Also, if he says be anxious for nothing, then he must have provided a solution on how we could not be anxious for nothing. And he says that in the verses, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer, with thanksgiving, by prayer and supplication, make your requests known unto God. Make your requests known unto God. Talk to God. Release the burden of that care unto Him. You know, it says in Corinthians chapter 12, Paul stated something. He said that a messenger from Satan came to buffet him, to prevent him from getting further ahead in God, to prevent him from further revelations. Goes on to say that it was a thorn in his side. Now, religion would like to say a lot of things about that. Would like to say that God caused that thorn in his side. No. It doesn't say this is a messenger for Satan. God does not send Satan. Satan sends Satan. Understand that. Okay, so in Corinthians he says, but if you study it back further, a thorn in his side, he listed a whole lot of things that were bothering him that he'd been through, but he says, what comes upon me daily is a deep concern, a deep anxiety, a deep concern, a deep care for the churches. See, Paul was greatly concerned about the welfare of the churches when he couldn't be there. And he pleaded before God, and he says, God, take this away from me. And this is where religion gets messed up, because God said, no, my grace is sufficient for you. God wasn't saying to stay in that. He was saying, my grace is what you need. My favor, my loving kindness will overpower that, will empower you over that. So, brother, sister, if you're anxious, with thanksgiving, make your requests known unto God. And then it goes on to say, the peace that passes all understanding will guard your heart. So I encourage you, if you've been struggling this week with anxiety, even if you got to do it daily, momently, hourly, talk to God, release it, release the emotion, release the anxiety to Him, and just watch the peace that'll come upon you. And let me share just real quick one thing. You know, when I was going through some stuff about 3-4 weeks ago, I was going, God, there's this, there's that in my life. And then somebody said, you know what, Wayne, maybe you ought to stop asking God to change the circumstances or the people in your life and ask God to change you. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, okay, God, I will do that. And I prayed what's known as the serenity prayer, which says, God, grant me the serenity. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And you know, the difference in those 4 weeks has been an amazing amount of peace. So I'll just repeat that prayer as I finish. God, and maybe even repeat after me if you will. God, grant me the serenity, which means peace. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God bless you. Have a great week.